All right. So I want to go to the government shutdown. Tomorrow will mark this to be the longest government shutdown in government shutdown history. And it looks like there's no end in sight. It may end up going to the end of this week, maybe close to Thanksgiving. Hopefully, it does not go past Thanksgiving. However, a federal judge last week told the Trump administration, no, you are going to release those SNAP emergency funds. You cannot withhold these SNAP emergency funds because that's what it's there for. So release the SNAP and fund SNAP. And that came down last week. And so Donald Trump administration said today that they're going to release partial SNAP benefits,
Well,
right?
that's not really the correct statement of the issue. There are no appropriated SNAP funds. There are some discretionary funds that this judge decided to interject himself into government policy behind and say, you have available discretionary funds, which if you choose, you could divert to SNAP. However, they may be there for some other emergency besides SNAP. The Democratic Party is responsible for SNAP being so widespread because they've set up the conditions that have generated a need for SNAP. Now, that said, at some point, we're going to have to get rationality in here. The Republican Party cannot endorse paying $5,000 a month for a family of four illegals who shouldn't even be in the country. They cannot endorse full medical coverage for illegals who shouldn't be in the country when so many American citizens and legal residents are financially unable to acquire reasonable and necessary medical care, let alone $5,000 per family of four per month. So we look at this absurd representation of affairs by the Democratic Party and mainstream media that wants to say it's a government impasse. It is not. It is a Democratic effort to extort getting their sick proposals in place so that they can benefit criminality. You are not supposed to deal with making crime pay, but it is criminal to crash the borders. It is criminal to be here illegally, and they're trying to make crime pay for large bodies, several million criminals that contain a high percentage of foreign agents, saboteurs, anarchists, terrorists, murderers, thieves, drug dealers, sexual offenders, and people infected with untreatable, uncurable diseases that expose the American public to great danger. And then you have clowns like the idiot running for New York mayor and others, Newsom in California, Bass in Los Angeles, and even the idiots here in Memphis who are talking about sanctuary cities, which is against the law. Again, I repeat it, Title 8, Section 1324 makes that illegal. So the
Well,
idea of governors, mayors, police chiefs, sheriffs, congressmen, either senators or representatives pushing for an illegality is just absolutely absurd.
Well, you know what else is absurd is to sit up here and, to a certain degree, it's absurd to sit up here and have a great Gatsby Halloween dinner at Mar-a-Lago, and half of that money, the taxpayers, we fund the Trump's traveling expenses to Mar-a-Lago, and in that room was nothing but wealthy people, while a lot of American citizens are worried about, are they going to have SNAP benefits to feed their family, to feed their children or their elderly parents. So
Well,
the now the optics looked bad. And yes, it was Halloween, this theme thing or whatever, whatever. But this is the longest running government shutdown. Yes, are towing the line because illegals should not get food stamps. They should not get free healthcare and food stamps such as that.
or apartment
However,
rental money or spending
yes,
money.
all that. So here's the thing though, you know, the optics of this Great Gatsby Halloween party, it shows the what do you call it? Maria Antoinette let them eat cake
Does it?
type of.
He's not paying for
Yes,
that. The secrets, no,
we are.
we're not. I mean, he is paying for that. We're not paying for it.
No,
He
we
doesn't
for the
cash his
Secret Service,
paychecks. He's working for free. He's not being paid
but
for being president.
we pay for his
The
transportation.
transportation in the scheme of things is less than most presidents over the last 100 years. So he hasn't traveled as much as most of them. So his expense
But
on
whether
that
they're
is
paying
less.
for it or not, that's not the
The,
case. You're the president. I get it. And
so
I
what's he
listen.
supposed to do? He can't do anything
No,
about it. He has a cell phone. He has instant communication that no longer has roaming charges for his situation. I don't have them because I pay for the unlimited plans. He has them. There is no longer any impediment to him communicating what he needs to communicate from Malargo or from DC, from the White House, from the West Wing, or
it's not
anything.
that. It's
No,
not
the
that. It's
point
not that.
is he
It's not
doesn't
about if
have
he's
a
capable
role
of
in
doing his
this.
job.
He doesn't. Article 1 of the Constitution says matters of finance, taxation, apportionment of monies, expenditures of monies, those are in the exclusive domain of Congress, the House and the
All right,
Senate. He doesn't have anything to
so
do
let me
with it.
all right, so let me read this because he doesn't have anything to do with it. You're right. That's Congress. However, he does influence his party that is in
Exactly.
Congress. Now I want to go back. Let me finish what I'm saying because you just agree with me. The federal judge in Rhode Island followed up with his Friday oral ruling with a written order Saturday requiring President Donald Trump's Agriculture Department to make full food stamps payment no later than the end of Monday, or alternatively, partial payments by the end of the day, Wednesday. Chief Judge John McConnell Jr., U.S. District of Rhode Island, was responding to the administration request for a written order, as well as Trump's Friday night social media post asking the court for clarity as to how USDA could legally make these SNAP payments. I do not want Americans to go hungry, Trump wrote on Truth Social after McCollum's earlier ruling from the bench on Friday afternoon. I asked the court to clarify how we can legally fund SNAP as soon as possible. If we are given the appropriate legal direction by the court, it would be my honor to provide funding. Okay, and that's great. And so the judge says the court greatly appreciates the president's quick and definitive response to this court's order and his desire to provide the necessary SNAP funding. And that's great. However, the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, in the beginning of last week, right, when everyone was talking about SNAP benefits being cut, he said, we are not going to tap into the SNAP emergency funds. We're not. But he shouldn't have even said that because that, sir, is cruel.
Well, then
Because
let's put it this way.
it took. Let me just land here. It took a federal judge to tell the House Speaker to release the emergency funds.
Well, you know what?
And then we have, wait a minute, I'm out the land. And then Trump does his Great Gatsby party or whatever. So that's when I say about the optics. The House Speaker should have said, okay, we're going to do partial of the emergency funding.
Okay, look, this whole thing got set in place as a response to the Great Depression. There was no federal insurance on deposits in federally insured banks. There was no adequate regulation. People were suffering. The whole country, the whole world was impoverished because of a financial disaster that was to a great extent generated by dependency upon the gold standard. And we have people trying to reimpose that again or reestablish that again. And it was a disaster. Right now, we do not have a situation even remotely comparable to the Great Depression. But yet, we have more and more people who have been induced to be dependent upon government handouts. There is no requirement in this whole scheme where people have to be prepared to secure work when it is available. There's nothing that requires that they, in the interim, if there's no work available, to indulge in education or trade development or vocational skill development so that they become employable. They're just sitting there, and they've got people who for 4 or 5 family generations have been receiving it, which is not what it was intended to be about. Now we have to do something about that. And this is a good time. This is an excellent time to reform the whole system to require that people work if they can. And if they don't have anything else to do, there are fire breaks in the woods to be prepared. There are roads to be cleaned up. There is debris in cities to be picked up. And all of these people are at home idle, and they could be put to work to do this. During the aftermath and the recovery from the Great Depression, we had Works Progress Administration where people built roads in the wilderness. They did clean up. They did things that needed to be done to build and maintain infrastructure. We could be doing that right now, but I resent paying for anybody that could be employed. I worked hard in my life, and I understand the needs of charity, but I don't deal with charitable contributions in my mind as being justified when you've got families with several generations who've never finished school, never worked in a job situation in their entire lives. And I don't think that's
So
appropriate.
you're you're painting the first of all, I disagree with you. You're painting the face of a SNAP benefiter as being a fifth generation single parent with a whole bunch of
Yeah,
kids.
I am.
And let me finish. Let me finish. And that's where you're wrong because majority 90% of people who get snaps work.
No, that's
That's a
good.
fact. You are only talking about maybe 5 or 10% at best of those type of people who you're describing. 90% of the people who receive SNAP benefits work. People don't understand, and I'm going to play this clip here
Before
that
you
you're going
go
to
anywhere,
hear.
let's stop. All of these people that say just sit it out on the couch rather than going to vote, all of these people that responded to these insane commercials, take your booties to the poll, all of these people that just loyally vote Democrat, that's how they got in a position to need SNAP because the American job market is the pits because too many jobs have been exported overseas. Too much American industry has been displaced overseas under the Democratic Party's administrations over the last 50 years. We have given the way our fortune, our means of being secure in economic prosperity. We have given it away. So somewhere along the lines, if that's how you vote or how you don't vote, by staying at home and sitting on the couch, vote couch, then you are responsible for the consequences and they should suffer until they understand there's a different way and stop voting for this insanity because somebody tells you you should vote for us because we will keep you dependent and entitled and getting snapped. Well, it's good as a safety net, but it is extended to the point where it is a manifest necessity because people have been conditioned to expect it. Where there is insufficient industry and an insufficient job market out there. That is what the problem is. And now you have
Well,
people who are saying we don't have enough jobs for you to have a good paying job where you don't need to collect food stamps, even though you may work 40 hours a week. And yet we're trying to bring in illegals here to make the situation worse.
all right, so I want to play this clip
And you're
here.
being deprived, by the way, so we can immediately take care of our friends, the illegals, while you suffer and your snaps
Yeah.
cut off, but we're paying for them. No, that's not the way it works. You need to rebel and you need to stop being blue little. creatures who want to wag their tails when they get some handout of kibbles and bits. You need a steak on your plate. You can earn it if you put people in office who will make sure that happens rather than people that
Yeah,
want
I
you
mean, listen,
dependent.
it doesn't matter who's in
Oh,
office.
it does matter.
People no, it matters to the point to where, okay, illegals won't get something, but the whole purpose of SNAP are for American citizens, and no matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, the American citizens still
Well,
need
let's put
SNAP.
it
Hear me out. I'm a respiratory therapist, okay? I take travel contracts for work right now, and I do that because it's twice the money. Okay, the economy requires me to leave my home for work, because if I take a regular staff position, I'll make anywhere from $31 to $35 an hour. Prime example, for 3 months out of this year, I did home care. I made $32 an hour. I worked 40 hours a week, at least 40 hours a week, okay? My bi-weekly take-home after taxes, retirement, and health insurance for me and my 3-year-old daughter, my bi-weekly take-home was right around $1,600. Okay, multiply that by 2, gets you through a month, $3,200 a month take-home, right? Sounds like good money, doesn't it? Should be good money, $32 an hour, right? $3,200 a month to live on. Anybody should be able to live on that, right? Right, that's what I thought too. Okay, so my rent was $1,400 a month. Now, mind you, that's decent. That is below the national average, okay? Rent, $1,400 a month. Gas and electric, they'd wax and wane. You know, electric's higher in the summer, gas is higher in the winter, but between the two of them, they averaged around $300 for the two of them. Okay, so we're at $1,700 a month. Full-time, Monday through Friday, childcare for my 3-year-old, $1,100 a month. I'm now at $2,800 of my $32. I have $400 left to put gas in my car, groceries on the table, toiletries, you know, shampoo, conditioner, toilet paper, laundry detergent, any copays if we decide to go to the doctor's office. Fuck a car payment. You might as well drive a paid off car. Mind you, I don't. I have a car payment. Okay? Car insurance. All of that is supposed to be covered by $400 a month. If I sat down with somebody, I'm from Michigan, if I sat down with somebody from Michigan Works and they put together my expenses and they put together what I make, I would qualify for SNAP benefits. And I would need them in order to keep me and my daughter afloat with me working full time, making $32 an hour. What is not clicking, guys? Oh, get a job. Oh, the few bad ones are ruining it for all the good. I don't care how many people are abusing the system. You cannot shut the whole system down and just say, oh, well, sorry. 2 Joe Schmoes from bumfuck nowhere don't want to get a job, so since we decided they qualify and they've been abusing the system, like, revamp the qualification system then. Revamp the system if you have to. We're the ones approving these people who are abusing the system. Change the qualification criteria. Change the criteria for being able to stay on it. Change the reevaluation period for how much you get and how often you're reevaluated. I don't care what you have to do. You can't shut it off. You can't stop it. And I'm sorry, but you seriously mean to tell me that this program, this SNAP benefit program, okay, funded by taxpayer dollars, okay, is out of money? But we have enough money to remodel the White House and to fund foreign war. We can't feed the mouths on our soil, but we can supply foreign aid through millions of dollars worth of arsenal and just straight up money. Make this make sense. Not to mention, those of you that are like, yeah, kick them off it. It's not going to affect me, da 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 da. Are you not even a little bit curious where the portion of your paycheck that was supposed to help pay for those benefits is going instead? Like, give me that money back so I can support the families in my area. I am from a densely SNAP benefit using area, okay? I come from a not very high on the bar area. Give me my money back. If you're not going to fund programs to feed the mouths around me, give me my money back and I will feed them. the other argument too that this isn't going to affect you, SNAP benefits is directly putting taxpayer dollars back into the economy. So if those taxpayer dollars aren't getting put back into the economy is gonna fucking tank. Your milk that's $3 at the grocery store is about to be $5 at the grocery store because the millions of Americans that were using SNAP benefits to purchase groceries aren't going to be able to do that anymore. Therefore, the price of groceries is going to go through the fucking roof. And then who's going to get fucked? The middle class American. The middle class American that, you know, just barely didn't qualify for SNAP benefits, that's already barely getting by. What's not clocking? Why are you too dense to understand this? The other thing too is, you know, you guys want to blame the parents. Well, you know, I feel bad that the kids are going to go hungry, but their parents should get a job. Or maybe that mom shouldn't have 4 kids with 3 different baby daddies. Blah, 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 blah. That is the... I can't even stress this enough. No woman lays down with a man going, yeah, well, I'm going to have this baby, but I know he's going to financially abandon me someday. I'm not a single mom because I knew when I laid down with my ex-husband that he was not going to financially support me someday. And no, I don't get child support or spousal support. I was the breadwinner there. That's not the point. Some of these single mothers or single fathers can't even find a job that will work with their kids' school schedules and or won't fire them when they have to call in 3 times in a school year because of school days or because a kid's sick. Or that will pay them enough to cover childcare if they're not of school age, and then also enough on top of that to help pay rent and the bills. Like at that point, you understand the amount of women who are leaving their careers, me included, when LJ and I have more kids, because I will not make enough money to make up for how much childcare costs. Is that not insane? And you guys want to get out here and tell single moms, get a fucking job. Or another thing, food for thought. Some of you, not all of you, but some of you men that are bitching about single moms being on SNAP benefits are the same type of men 10, 20 years from now that will financially abandon your wife. And she's got 4 kids and been a stay-at-home mom for the last 18 years. Then what the fuck is she supposed to do? And then you want to bitch when she needs more than $1,000 a month in child support to support your 4 kids that you only see on the weekend. That you only see when you don't have to pay for childcare. Y'all, I can't. In conclusion, either turn the fucking SNAP benefits back on or give me my taxes back. If you're not gonna at least feed the kids, feed the hungry, and reinvest my taxpayer dollars back into our own economy, if all you're gonna do with it is remodel the fucking White House and support foreign war, give it back. So just wanted to end this by saying more of you need to be more outraged. You think it doesn't affect you, you think you're going to mind your P's and Q's and stay in your own little bubble, it's going to affect you. It's going to.
What I want to say to that is I agree with everything she said. And a lot of people are forgetting, the people that want to so-called shame people who get SNAP, which are food stamps, which are people who actually work, that yes, they are actually paying for their own food stamps because it's taxpayers' dollars. And then 2, corporations are pissed off because that's 20% minimum of a profit that they're losing. I'm talking about the Walmarts. I'm talking about the Whole Foods. I'm talking about your grocery chain stores. So corporate heads are knocking on Congress' door as well. So a lot of people, listen, illegals should not get shit. But the fact is that, are you willing to have the Americans starve? Because that's the majority. So something has to give. And going back to the Great Gatsby, party, that's my perspective, my opinion of bad optics at the wrong time, but it is what it is. But I agree with what she was saying. Go ahead.
Well, let's put it this way. I pay a lot more in taxes than she does. I understand her position, and mine is I don't feel like paying a damn dime. I think she should have screwed wisely and picked somebody better for her husband. She made a mistake. There are consequences to making mistakes. That's part of what's set up right
That's a
now.
very
Yeah, and
ignorant
that's not
answer.
ignorant. I pay too
Very
goddamn
ignorant.
much in
It is
taxes.
very ignorant.
No,
That's very ignorant.
understand the charitable needs. I understand the needs for a safety net. Okay. But I pay a lot in taxes. And since she's talking about giving taxes back because she doesn't like it spent for international relations, diplomacy, restoring the White House, well, I pay a lot more than she does in taxes, and that I approve of.
A lot of middle class people pay a higher
I got
percentage.
you. But the point is that I pay a lot in taxes, and I resent some of the things that extreme amount of money gets paid on to take care of. So I have a tolerance that I have built up to my money that I earned, worked hard to get, and a lot of it's being taken in taxes and given to people who some other folk I did not vote for, cannot stand, know personally, and think are full of shit, have decided to say, well, we put them there, so we're going to sit there and take care of them because it's in our political advantage to do so. I see the big picture. And the question becomes is when is somebody going to suffer enough pain to take this into consideration and do something about it? So somewhere in here, it's just like, okay, I'd like for it to be painless, but since you don't act like you've got good sense, then okay, make it hurt a little bit so you will think next time you vote about
No,
who set it
the
up.
missing with that bullshit. First of all, no one, you or anybody, has the right to be some moral
I
judgment. You're
am.
not
What the
God.
hell
You're
you
not
think I
Jesus
do?
Christ. Let me say this real quick, because Joyce, and anybody else that want to have these simple-minded, ignorant comments. Oh, she shouldn't have married the wrong man. Let me tell you something about men and women. You don't know who the hell you
Well,
married. What are you checking? You going to check in their brain to see if they're going to do something, trifling to not take care of their kids? You don't know. Just like a man don't know if you marry some crazy woman who's going to cheat on you or take your money without you even knowing. So the fact is that a lot of times you don't know until the situation arises, because people do say I'm going to do it, and they do behave one way when they're married, but when you get a divorce, when you break up, then you see a whole nother person. How about, instead of people running around here, men and women, trying to shame a woman because a man fuck ups, how about we start making laws like the state of Georgia? As soon as that pregnancy stick turns blue or positive, your ass pay child
if you
support
are the
off the rip.
daddy.
The state of Florida makes you start paying child support. One, number two, you have to put her on your health insurance. So the fact is that you prove, if you're the father, once that kid is born, or if you want to do that special test to draw a needle of blood from and from the birth sac or whatever the case may be. But other than that, how about we start getting those type of laws on the books, holding the men responsible for their fuck ups?
There is this thing in law called intentionality that I think is a horrible construct. They have set up that if a woman just wants to be a mother and doesn't want to be bothered, and she goes to a fertility clinic and she discovers who the sperm donor is, they tried to go sue the sperm donor. The courts have said that there is no intentionality by the father to be a father of that particular child, so he is immune from child support if all he did was donate sperm. Well, there are other situations where instead of going to the clinic and paying the money, they just go get the sperm donated directly. There needs to be some accountability and some consequence for indiscriminately going out and screwing. Now, that's a fact that used to be a
Okay,
reality
so
some
here,
years ago, but now
so
seems
what,
to be
but
nobody
but here's the
cares.
thing: the consequence should not just fall on one person; it needs to fall
Well,
on both
yes, I
parties.
understand. And men need to pay their appropriate child support. Now, uh, I
So
have no
I got another.
contention with that.
It
When
has
I
to do with
was a
the
judge,
shutdown.
I made the people that I put on probation who had children pay reasonable child support as a condition of their probation. I don't go into you have no responsibility, but somewhere along the line, somebody needs to do something to not facilitate these situations developing in the first place, but to discourage them from happening, to set up social circumstances, to start educating people on the realities, to start, well, to stop socializing and acculturating them to think that they're breeding animals on a ranch someplace where their job is to get knocked up casually. That's not good. You need to start doing something in the educational system. You need to start doing something with making a viable paycheck a reality. You need to do something so that the American public does not get stiffed with enormous expenses that have nothing to do with the realities of running a good economy. There are very great needs, but we have not been voting for that. We have been voting for foolishness. And as I've said many times, Americans get the representation they deserve. And if your representation isn't shit, you didn't vote for shit.
You should not have a federal judge tell you to release the emergency funds, especially when you are the party that made sure to make abortion illegal. So if you want women to have more babies and not kill their fetus or abort their fetus, then you need to make sure that women have the support that they need. SNAP, daycare, housing, and that man is participating financially in that child's life.